Diego Maradona. In 1986, Argentina faced England in the World Cup quarterfinals. Early in the second half, a loose ball entered England's penalty area. Diego Maradona and goalkeeper Peter Shilton both went for it. Shilton should have reached the ball first. Instead, Maradona used his hand to punch it into the net. The referee didn't see it. The linesman didn't see it. The goal stood. England protested immediately, but there was nothing they could do. At the time, there was no VAR, no video review, and no mechanism for overturning decisions. Argentina won the match and later won the World Cup. The goal became known as the Hand of God and remains one of the most controversial moments in football history. More importantly, it exposed a weakness in football's officiating system. If officials missed something important, the decision became final. But Maradona relied on a referee making a mistake. The next player didn't. Luis Suárez. The 2010 World Cup quarterfinal between Uruguay and Ghana was seconds away from ending. The score was tied. Then Ghana created what looked like a certain winning goal. Luis Suárez stood on the goal line. He deliberately used both hands to stop the ball. The referee immediately sent him off and awarded a penalty. At first glance, it looked like a terrible decision. But Suárez understood the situation differently. Conceding the goal guaranteed elimination. A penalty at least provided a chance of survival. Ghana missed. Uruguay survived. Uruguay later won the shootouts. After the match, many called Suárez a cheat. Others argued that he simply accepted the punishment outlined in the rules and made a rational decision. Regardless of opinion, Uruguay advanced because of his choice. Unlike Maradona, Suárez didn't exploit a referee's mistake. He exploited the incentives built into the rulebook. But sometimes influence can be even more valuable than understanding the rules. Johan Cruyff. But Cruyff wasn't most players. His influence was so significant that a compromise was reached. The Dutch team wore jerseys featuring Adidas' famous 3 stripes. Cruyff wore a modified version with only 2. It seems insignificant today, yet it revealed an important reality about football. Elite players could sometimes negotiate exceptions that ordinary players never could. Cruyff showed that influence itself could become a competitive advantage. But one player would challenge football far more directly. Jean-Marc Bosman. Jean-Marc Bosman was not a superstar. In fact, many football fans today only know his name because of a court case. In 1990, Bosman's contract expired. He wanted to move to another club. His club blocked the transfer. At the time, football rules allowed clubs to restrict players even after their contracts had ended. Bosman believed the system was unfair. Instead of accepting it, he took legal action. The case eventually reached the European Court of Justice. 5 years later, Bosman won. The ruling transformed football. Players gained far greater freedom once their contracts expired. Clubs lost a significant amount of control. Modern free transfers, player bargaining power, and many aspects of today's transfer market can be traced back to this decision. Unlike the others on this list, Bosman didn't exploit a weakness. He forced the system itself to change. Yet legal loopholes weren't football's only problem. Its financial systems had weaknesses too. Carlos Tevez. During the 2000s, Carlos Tevez became one of the most controversial figures in football for reasons that had little to do with his performances. At the center of the controversy was third-party ownership. Outside investors held economic rights connected to Tevez and other players. As Tevez moved between clubs, questions emerged about who actually controlled his rights. Clubs, agents, investors, and governing bodies all became involved. The arrangements were so complicated that football authorities often struggled to regulate them effectively. The situation generated years of debate. Critics argued that football's regulations had failed to keep pace with modern business practices. Eventually, restrictions on third-party ownership became much stricter. Tevez's career highlighted how complex football's financial ecosystem had become. But financial loopholes weren't the only weakness players discovered. Human perception could be exploited as well. Rivaldo. By 1974, Johan Cruyff had become one of football's biggest stars. The Dutch national team was sponsored by Adidas. Cruyff personally had a sponsorship agreement with Puma. The problem was obvious. Adidas expected every Dutch player to wear its branding. Cruyff didn't want to promote a rival company. For most players, the discussion would have ended there. During the 2002 World Cup, Brazil faced Turkey. Late in the match, a Turkish player kicked the ball toward Rivaldo. The ball struck Rivaldo's leg. A moment later, Rivaldo grabbed his face and fell to the ground. The referee interpreted the incident as violent conduct. The Turkish player received a red card. Television replays quickly revealed what had happened. The ball had never struck Rivaldo's face. The reaction had been exaggerated. FIFA later fined Rivaldo. but the decision on the field remained. The incident became one of football's most famous examples of simulation. It also demonstrated how much influence a player's reaction could have on an official's decision. Yet some players weren't interested in manipulating referees. They preferred manipulating opponents. Carlos Valderrama. Carlos Valderrama never relied on pace. He wasn't known for physical dominance either. Instead, he controlled matches through intelligence and patience. During the 2002 World Cup, Brazil faced Turkey. Late in the match, a Turkish player kicked the ball toward Rivaldo. The ball struck Rivaldo's leg. A moment later, Rivaldo grabbed his face and fell to the ground. The referee interpreted the incident as violent conduct. The Turkish player received a red card. Television replays quickly revealed what had happened. The ball had never struck Rivaldo's face. The reaction had been exaggerated. FIFA later fined Rivaldo, but the decision on the field remained. The incident became one of football's most famous examples of simulation. It also demonstrated how much influence a player's reaction could have on an official's decision. Yet some players weren't interested in manipulating referees. They preferred manipulating opponents. Carlos Valderrama. Carlos Valderrama never relied on pace. He wasn't known for physical dominance either. Instead, he controlled matches through intelligence and patience. Valderrama understood that football was often psychological. He slowed games down when necessary. He controlled possession for long periods. He forced opponents to chase the ball and become frustrated. Many defenders eventually lost discipline. Many teams ended up playing at Valderrama's pace rather than their own. His advantage wasn't athletic. It was mental. Valderrama showed that understanding the rhythm of a match could be just as valuable as technical ability. You will spontaneously combust if you don't subscribe to the MS Explainer.